If you're looking for a delicious gluten-free dessert to have for the holidays, these cranberry cheesecake bars are to die for, y'all. They are so rich and decadent with the perfect amount of sweet and savory. So we're going to be making it in layers. First off, line an 8x8 pan with either foil or parchment paper and then set that aside. And of course, the first layer is the gluten-free crust. And for that, you're going to need blanched almond flour, coconut flour, grass-fed butter or ghee, and I got this one from Costco, and any type of granulated sweetener. I'm going to be using monk fruit today to keep it low carb, but you can use any other type of low carb sweetener or even cane sugar. Now when it comes to measuring the almond flour, you want to make sure that it's loosely packed. So I like to take a butter knife and just run it across the top, and you're going to measure the coconut flour the same way. In a mixing bowl, let's add the flours along with the sweetener and just whisk that together until it's fully combined and try to get all those lumps out. Then add in the grass-fed butter or ghee, and you do want to make sure that it's melted or softened like you see here. And just continue mixing that until it all comes together. I like to go in with a spatula just to make sure everything is coated with the ghee, and then I use my hands to sort of squeeze it all together. The main thing is just make sure that that ghee or butter is fully coated on all of the flour. And going back to the lined pan, I'm going to take my crust mixture, form it into a ball, and then press it onto the pan. And just continue pressing that crust all the way out to the outer edges of the pan, making sure that it's evenly distributed throughout. Now let's bake the crust at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 7 to 8 minutes, or until the crust is golden and slightly browned around the edges. Once it's done, remove it from the oven, and you'll want to let that cool while we prep the other layers. And I'm going to go ahead and prep the cranberry layer next because it's going to need to cool off as well. You're going to need 2 cups of fresh cranberries, and by the way, you can substitute the cranberries for blueberries, blackberries, or even raspberries. So in a small saucepan, I'm adding in the cranberries along with half a cup of water, half a cup of the monk fruit sweetener, and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Give that a good mix and then bring it to a light boil. Reduce the heat to low medium, cover it with a lid, and then let that simmer for 5 minutes. Then remove the lid and let it simmer for another 5 minutes. This is going to help to really thicken it up. Once it's done, turn off the heat and let that cool while we prep the other layers. Okay, so for the cheesecake layer, I'm using this organic cream cheese. You can also use a dairy-free cream cheese. The Kite Hill brand is really, really good. So just add that cream cheese to a mixing bowl along with 4 tablespoons of the granulated sweetener, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, and 1 egg yolk. And using an electric hand mixer, I'm just going to whip that up until it all comes together, and the final result will be a super creamy texture like you see here. Go ahead and set that aside, and lastly, let's prep the pecan crumble topping. And in my opinion, this is what takes it to the next level. So in a food processor, add in 1/3 cup of pecan halves and pulse that a few times until the pecans are chopped up. But be careful not to chop them too much because you don't want them to be too fine of a texture. All right, now let's add in half a cup of almond flour and 1 tablespoon of the granulated sweetener. Pulse that a few more times just to bring everything together. It should look something like this. And now I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of the grass-fed ghee. Again, you want it to be either melted or softened. Let's blend that for a few more seconds until it's fully incorporated into the mixture. It's gonna look something like this, and make sure you don't blend it too long because it'll start to form a paste and we want it to be more crumbly. Okay, it's finally time to assemble the recipe, starting with the cheesecake layer. Just spread that evenly over the gluten-free crust, making sure you take it all the way to the outer edges and really smooth that out. Then pour over the cranberry sauce and make sure it's not hot. You want it to be around room temperature. I wish y'all could smell this right now because it smells so good. Just spread that evenly over the cheesecake layer, and then we're gonna top it off with the pecan crumble. And by the way, comment below, do you pronounce it pecan or pecan? Because we had a whole debate about this over the Thanksgiving holidays. But the pecan crumble, in my opinion, is what really takes this recipe to the next level. It just gives it that extra crunch factor, which I love. All right, once it's fully assembled, we're gonna bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 to 30 minutes. And then I like to broil it for 2 to 3 minutes just to brown the pecan crumble a little bit, but not too much because you don't wanna burn it. And once it's done, you'll wanna let it cool for about 10 minutes at room temperature and then place it in the refrigerator for at least an hour to let it set and to cool off completely. Once it's cooled off completely, it's ready to serve. Just sort of break up those edges a little bit and remove it from the pan. Make sure you put it onto a solid surface and then slice it into whatever size bars you want. I'm cutting mine into 9 bars. And by the way, to get that clean cut, be sure to wipe the knife with a paper towel in between slices. But you'll want to keep these stored in the refrigerator until you're ready to serve them. And that's pretty much it. But how good do these look? I'm telling y'all, these will be a hit at any holiday party. My family drove in this weekend to go wedding dress shopping with me, and I served them these when they got here. They could not believe that they were gluten-free and low carb. These are a must try. Okay, y'all, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.